Well, greetings, weekend visitors, and welcome back to the Comics Prisoner. Hey, I really appreciate you coming and visiting me here as I find myself in solitary confinement in page 18 of Avengers number 1 and number 20. That's right, back in the 60s, the summer of love. Oh, God, I wish I was a 17-year-old boy back then. Just to read the comics, of course. All right, so let's get started. So, you may have noticed if there's a theme around my little show here, it focuses a lot on inking. So yeah, I worked as an inker. I love inking. I love inkers. I love what they bring to the art form of comics illustration, and love seeing how different inkers affect different pencilers. So this is something. This is something with a lot of nuance. You see, you have commercial art and you have fine art. Now, the commercial artist is always working with the mind to making something that's going to appeal to as many people as possible. The fine artist is pretty much working for an audience of one. It's his way of seeing the world, her way of expressing herself. It's not supposed to be made for a broad audience. Now, comic books is a commercial industry that employs fine artists. And as you can imagine, that results in a lot of conflict between employer, artist, and audience. So, let's talk about the penciler here on this page. Don Heck. Don's kind of a mixed bag when it comes to the audience. There are some that thought he lost his juice after the 70s. There are some who maybe didn't like him at all. Again, we're getting into nuances. Would I call Don a fine artist? Yes, because he had a expression that he never changed. He didn't go with the trends. He didn't feel the need to evolve. He knew what he was and he did it. But he drew well. And later we'll probably have a episode where we talk about how the aging audience, how it got older and more sophisticated, started to want to have fine art expectations of this commercial art venue that would want to have the same results of a painter who was given months to finish up one painting be imposed on a penciler that had to draw hundreds of drawings in a couple of weeks. So we'll start by looking at the first panel of this page, which has a lot going on in there. It really is a lovely panel. First off, we'll look at it from the standpoint of the penciler Don Heck. Let's look at it first. All the anatomy is perfect. It's clearly penciled. The storytelling is there. The action is there. Specifically, let's look at Cap's figure, Captain America's figure. You can just, even though it looks like it's a static image, there is so much twist and turn and movement and power in that figure. You can feel Cap moving towards the swordsman, not just in a straight line, but coming at him kind of in a little bit of a circle, so he's a moving target, not easily hit. I lay that all at the feet of Don Heck. He did a wonderful job with that figure. And so let's move over to the inking part of this drawing. Let's look at what Wally Wood brought into it. Wait a second, before we do that, let's shoot down to the bottom of the page, the left panel, which also has a very dramatic, elegant, fluid rendering of Captain America running at his adversary, and that really just holds up. It's good now as it was then. Okay, so let's jump back up to the top panel, and let's talk about the inker, Wally Wood. Now, Wally Wood was also a accomplished, actually legendary penciler inker. Anything Heck could do, Wally Wood could do at least as well. And yes, we'll go have a different show about Wally Wood later. But let's look at it. First off, It's all very competently inked. Lots of nice spotting of blacks. Let's look in the background though. See that sci-fi machinery? That Heck could have drawn that, but there's a lot of Wally Wood embellishment here because I see a lot of Wally Wood signature machinery that he used to put in his sci-fi strips. So I'm going to say Wood, even though we're hardly seeing the figures at all, has put a lot into this picture. I would really love, we'll do this again, love to get to a page where we zoom in on the faces that Wally inked. Because here we go. Sounds like I'm going to throw some shade on you. Don Heck is a fine artist. But just because you're a fine artist doesn't guarantee the audience is going to agree with your expression. His way of rendering, I think, often was a little coarse and a little, I don't know, how can I put this? It detracted. So when you had an inker like Wally Wood or Jazzy Johnny Romita or Frank Giacoya inking it, they would make it more attractive. Made the faces more attractive. And here's the thing. This is the thing about art anyway. If you have someone drawn or illustrated or painted in a piece, your eyes are going to go right to the face. It does not matter how well the shoulders are drawn or what the anatomy is or the composition. We just look at faces. And if that isn't attractive, if that isn't compelling and alluring, it's going to push you away. And this is why the Wally Wood Don Heck team worked for me. Wally didn't just follow line for line slavishly. He softened it and made it just very fun to look at. Okay, as always, I always say I like to let the work speak for itself. But I think I'm actually starting to come to accept the fact that no matter how well I prepare, I'm always going to forget something I'd like to say about this. So we're just going to always assume that when I'm done critiquing and analyzing these pieces, that we might come back and talk some more about things that I've missed and forgot. Now, I hope you'll not only experience this page for yourself, but the entire issue. Now, where could you buy Avengers 20 from the 60s? Well, there's the Marvel collections. There's also, and if you want to see this in beautiful black and white, I really suggest the Avengers Essentials Collection #1. This page is in there. It's beautiful. And also, there's the Marvel app, which for a low price you can get. You can sample all of this work. It's all in color, and I'm sure lots of people are going to want to see it that way. So, well, I think we're going to end this now. And the next time we talk about Don Heck on the Avengers, we'll talk about another inker that did wonderful work on his pencils. It sounds like I'm saying Heck needed to be fixed. He didn't. There was just parts of his expression that needed to be made more commercial. Like I said, when the audience got older, it changed how the audience consumes the product. Okay? All right. So, thank you for the visit. It's been great. I was getting a little lonely. And until next time, keep your minds out of the gutter and in the panels. See you.